President Trump made some major history today. What happened in the Oval Office, this is going to be talked about for decades. And 100, 200 years, historians, students in school are going to go back and watch what happened in the Oval Office today. When President Trump had this meeting that was just amazing, something that no one in the world has ever seen before with this president of South Africa. Now, of course, right now in South Africa, and this has been going on for many, many years, there's been an attempted genocide of white people in South Africa, and particularly the white farmers. WorldNet Daily was reporting on this over a decade ago before anybody else even talked about it. And obviously, Elon Musk, being an immigrant from South Africa and being the first bud, the president's best friend, has brought this genocide to the attention of President Trump. And this meeting's so important. When President Trump and Marco Rubio brought in refugees from South Africa, the media and the Democrats had just complete meltdowns. And the reason they did is because they were white refugees. And what they see from the southern border, the illegal refugees that aren't really refugees, they're using some legal technicality and calling themselves climate refugees or something. They're trying to make a race thing out of it. And when this press conference happened in the Oval Office, it made that thing that was Zelensky almost look boring. It wasn't. It was crazy. But this is really off the rails and amazing. And what we've seen here that we've only seen with Trump, we saw it with Zelensky, we saw it with this, we saw it in the first term with Pelosi and Schumer. You know, you see President Trump actually involved in negotiations, foreign policy, dealing with foreign leaders, heads of state, right on television live. And this press conference today in the Oval Office with the president of South Africa started off okay. They were talking for quite a while about, things that weren't all that important. It was mostly the South African president kept going back using the word economics all the time. He's trying to get some business deals and some money from the United States. And then they went to the questions, and things just got really super cool. So let's go through this. I was just so impressed with our president. Talk about transparency, huh? You know, I remember Bill Clinton when he ran for president the first time. By the way, notice President Trump has the model of the new Air Force One right there. Right? It's beautiful, beautiful. Red, white, and blue. That's the way the plane should be. Air Force One should not be whatever they've done to it with this blue and white. Red, white, and blue is perfect. But when Bill Clinton was Governor Clinton and he was running for president in 1992, one of the top things on his platform was we're going to be the most transparent administration in history, no smoke-filled backroom deals. Well, he was doing other things in the smoke room with cigars other than making deals. He was making something else, right? We've never seen transparency like this, whether it's the heads of state that he's humiliating like he's going to do with this guy in a moment live, or having the live cabinet meetings. It is just fantastic. And the expectations that the American people have from our president, and this is changing everything for future presidents. Are going to have to live up to these new standards that President Trump is making everyone so accustomed to. All right, so let's get to this. South African president with the president, the greatest president, our favorite president, the 45th and 47th president, Donald Trump.
Any questions, please?
Mr. President, you welcome white Afrikaner refugees here. Can you explain to Americans why it's appropriate to welcome white Afrikaners here when other refugees like Afghans, Venezuelans, Haitians have all had their protective status revoked?
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements.
Yeah.
We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too.
That's
from
right.
People. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions. They come from street gangs.
Right.
They're drug dealers. So don't say that we didn't take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case where we're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that.
And if you look up there, you see Elon Musk standing up behind the couch. Look at the expression on Elon's face looking at this South African president. I mean, he is just fuming, with this, with genocide, which is what they're trying to do down there, okay? And they're justifying it by the apartheid from long ago. I mean, it's just insanity. After the Holocaust of the Second World War, there was so much attention. That old poem. They came for this group. No one said anything. They came for this group. No one said anything. They came for me. There was no one left to say anything. You guys know that. Very important words, that poem. I don't want to trivialize it by going through it so quick, but very important. But what have we learned from the Holocaust? When things like this are not only going on, the American left-wing media don't even want to talk about it, right? They're covering up for a genocide because it's a genocide that's happening to a group that they feel deserve to be punished because of apartheid that's been over for a long, long, long time. And when Nelson Mandela got out of prison after all those years as a political prisoner in South Africa and became the president of South Africa, he was like a Gandhi-like figure. I know beforehand, before he went to prison, there's a lot of things that went on. But when he got out of prison, he didn't come out angry and seeking revenge. He came out to reform his country, almost like a Martin Luther King-like figure, very peaceful, very pleasant, and a role model for the world. Not what's going on now, but look at Elon Musk. I mean, he is fuming because it's his home country. He's an American now, but we all should be that angry at what's going on in South Africa. All right, back to this.
It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up, yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah,
Brian?
Thank you very much. I'd like to get your thoughts on Letitia James, Director Polte.
This is Brian Glenn. He's always very good, isn't he?
According to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband.
Oh, my goodness.
In order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false attacks they had on you.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know that it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father.
Crazy.
And she put it down, and she had didn't she sign in Virginia? Yet she said she lived in Virginia. Yet she's the New York State Attorney General. She did that for tax reasons.
Not doing good for Letitia.
Taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it. But I appreciate the question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. President, what's the for you to be convinced that there's no genocide?
Okay, now here is when it's going to start to get into the genocide in South Africa. Again, even where we are now, that was Brian Glenn, Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. He's the one who a couple days ago said that we want to see big, beautiful handcuffs on people's wrists. He's very good. Was with Right Side Broadcasting for many, many years. And this in itself is historic. Think about this. most of these presidents we've had in the past, they hide from the media. And then when they go and take, and this isn't just Biden, this is all of them, Bush, all of them, they hide from the media. And then when they take questions, they're set up questions. They know what's coming and they pick from their friends. And while Brian Glenn's friends with Donald Trump, he's taking questions randomly, oftentimes from people he doesn't know. And many times, as comes up a little later, he takes questions from reporters that he knows hate him and are very hostile. And it's live on television. You never know what's going to happen. And it is what the American people really want to see, what really happens, how the government really works.
I really don't know too much about it, but I appreciate the question. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. President, what's it going to take for you to be convinced that there's no genocide?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So May 25th will be the celebration of Africa Day, which pretty much a lot of celebration will be taking place around the world, including here in the United States. What is your message to the entire African continent, African people, in this important occasion?
Well, I want to see peace, and I want to see happiness. I want to see health.
That's
and,
right.
You have incredible land. There's tremendous value. A lot of countries don't have that value in the land, the value you have. We have a situation, I think you probably heard about it. We've done, through some very talented people, helped settle a war that's been raging for years, Rwanda and the Congo. And I think we've done it. Believe it or not, I think we've done it. And could you just say a few words about that, my friend?
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, the two parties signed a declaration of principles in which they've agreed on the way forward. And they have both submitted draft peace agreements.
And, this is just so phenomenal that the president has cabinet members, staff members, people from other countries, and they're there just in case a question comes up so they can report to the media.
For even those efforts, because the African continent, particularly SADC, our Southern African Development Community, has for years been seeking to foster peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So all efforts, including those from outside the continent and inside. See,
this South African president, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, right? He had no idea what's coming, and the president's just waiting to pounce.
In that whole area, and we hope that with the support of the international community, we will really have peace in that area. It's so vital, it's so important for the whole region.
Well, we sent our people there,
See, I mean, everything's going perfectly. There's nothing, but there's nothing unusual here other than the transparency and taking the questions, and then things change. And we'll get to that after the break. Now, I want to tell you guys that my wife, Kathy, she has an Etsy shop that you will most definitely want to check out. It's called Ocean Breeze Art Studio, and there's a link in the description of the video, okay? And this is my wife Kathy's Etsy shop. Again, there's a link in the description of the video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, the link will be in the description of the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to, if you're listening to the audio podcast. And these are all original designs that my wife Kathy has made, original artwork that she has done that can go on mouse pads and iPhones and cups and tumblers and just pretty much anything. And there's keychains, there's stickers, magnets, all kinds of things there, and pages and pages of it. And again, there's a link in the description of the episode on whatever platform you're listening to the podcast on. It's my wife Kathy's YouTube channel, Ocean Breeze Art Studio. So just look in the description and click the link. All right, my name is Brian Craig. We'll take our break, and we'll come back to the part where it really starts to heat up at this White House press conference today in the Oval Office with the president of South Africa, with our favorite president, Donald Trump. My name is Brian Craig. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
They tell you to be strong and hide your pain. But what if the truth is, strength begins when you stop hiding? Author Geraldine will take you on a powerful journey through the real battles of mental health, through darkness, through hope, and into healing. In the book, You Are Not the Rain, available on Amazon. Through intimate and honest stories, the author shows how therapy, medication, and support networks can transform lives, and how empathy can change the world. You Are Not the Rain is a guide, a light, and a reminder that behind every struggle is a soul worth fighting for. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are not the rain. Available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and as an audiobook on Google Books, Storytel, and other online booksellers. You Are Not the Rain, from author Geraldine. Read it and help create a world where understanding wins. And want to feel stronger, look better, and live an active life like you did when you were younger? Then add Fit After 50 on Highway to Your Health to your podcast playlist. Fit After 50 gives you real-world advice from experts and everyday people just like you. Whether it's fitness, nutrition, or disease prevention, Fit After 50 host Keith and Rob bring you tips, strategies, and the motivation you need to take charge of your health. On Fit After 50, there's no gimmicks, no shortcuts, just science-backed actionable strategies and real talk to help you stay fit, feel good, and thrive at any age. Listen to Fit After 50 on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. Subscribe today and take your first step towards a healthier, stronger, and more energized life. Some adventures take place in faraway lands, but the most magical ones begin right at home. From Polish author and poet Barbara Natali comes a heartwarming children's book about family, imagination, and the bond between a little boy and his loving grandma. Michael, Grandma and the Dinosaur, available on Amazon. Michael and Grandma turn ordinary moments into extraordinary adventures, where a kitchen becomes a jungle, a plush toy roars to life, and even a rainy day holds a touch of magic. Michael, Grandma, and the Dinosaur is perfect for bedtime reading, classroom fun, and shared reading with loved ones. This beautifully illustrated book is a gift that sparks laughter, curiosity, and joy. Order your copy right now on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Michael, Grandma, and the Dinosaur, from author Barbara Natali.
We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Lynn from Boynton. I just received my 7th and 8th set of Mike Lindell sheets. This time we got flannel ones, which we had never had. I got one for my husband for Christmas. He loves it. Oh, my God. And especially with the cold days and nights we've been having the last few months in Florida. I got 2 more. I send them to my friends for Christmas now, and they just love them. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, I have the flannels, too. You're like Goldilocks. They keep you the same temperature all night long.
Yes. So, perfect. The guy just has a great product.
The thing with Mike Lindell's sheets, all of them, the fitted sheet at the bottom fits perfectly on the mattress. Every other sheet, you can't get the 4 corners on. And it's almost impossible. Even after having them for years and washing them, I don't know how many times, they still fit perfectly.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
You're probably going to be on the next My Pillow commercial, just so you know, okay?
Okay.
Okay, just to let you know.
You heard Lynn from Boynton. She loves her My Pillow sheets. Order yours right now at a huge discount. Use our promo code KANE, Kane, at checkout at mypillow.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. We're going to jump right back into it. This is the president of South Africa with President Trump in the Oval Office today. And now things are going to start to get heated. The part where historians 200 years from now will be looking back on this moment and be like, wow, that was history in the making.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these 3 gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture.
Okay, which is that white guy sitting over here in that chair directly across from the president. He's like the token white guy in the South African cabinet. And what the South African president has just done is denied that there's a Holocaust or an attempted Holocaust or genocide, whatever you want to call it, of the white farmers in South Africa. And I'll tell you this, President Trump was so prepared. He was waiting for this. And what we saw with President Trump and this South African president is we saw President Trump set him up. This guy just walked into the trap that President Trump was waiting for, that he set for him. And I'll rewind it just a few seconds, and then we'll get into what Trump did. This is beautiful.
I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can
he's denying
bet
it.
These three
No
gentlemen
genocide, he
would
just
not
said.
be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me.
The token white guy.
It'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But, Mr. President, I must say that we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it.
Sure.
And we have documentaries, we have news stories, and that. Is Natalie here? Somebody here to turn that?
See,
I
got the
can show
video
you
already.
A couple of things, and I have to. It has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
We have. Let me see the articles, please, if you would. And
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. Turn the lights down.
Nothing
Turn the
like this
lights
has
down.
ever happened
Just
before.
put this on. It's right behind
Articles and video.
you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yes. South African occupy land. That's who we are. Honorable member, I can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament. Honorable. Yes, honorable member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill.
The guy's actually saying kill white people. And he's speaking in an arena that is just it's like that Invictus arena, right? I mean, it's just a massive arena filled.
The poor, the farmer, the poor, the farmer.
Insane. I mean, nothing like this has ever been seen before. Nothing. And I'll tell you, the media do not want to cover this story. Even though President Trump has brought it up to them, they don't want to cover this story. I was telling Steve Kane this morning that come August, it'll be 3 years since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain for the first time. It was in my knee. And my knee had been hurting me since I was 20, 21 years old. So it had been 30 years of suffering. And sometimes my knee would act up. It was my right knee. It would act up so much, I just wanted to sit down and go to sleep, because the pain was so bad. And Dr. Appleton treated me. And I know it was 3 years ago because I remember a salesman from the radio station took me to meet Dr. Appleton. And I told Dr. Appleton about my knee. I got that free consultation that you can take advantage of too, the free consultation with Dr. Appleton. And he treated me with the laser treatment on my knee, which is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime. In fact, not only is it completely painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening. So that was on Thursday. The next day I woke up on Friday, and my knee was already improving. I went for a second treatment on Saturday. First treatment Thursday, second treatment on Saturday, and then Monday, the pain was gone. And 3 years coming in August, the pain has not returned, because the laser treatment doesn't just rid you of pain, it repairs the damage that's causing the pain. It's amazing. It works. And he's rid me of pain 6 times after that for a total of 7, Dr. Appleton. We have listeners that travel literally from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. He is incredible. The laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, which, by the way, he rid me of arthritis in my hand, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, which I understand is incredibly painful, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and any type of pain you've ever heard of. Because I keep meeting listeners all the time with new pains I never heard of, and they're now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Appleton. Give him a call. Now, remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. Non-stop video after video, and then the crosses on the side of the road, and you hear President Trump talk about these.
If they object, they can seek refugee in America.
Oh.
Now this is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites.
Mass graves.
Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who's killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never
Sure
seen
is.
anything like it.
No one has.
Both sides of the road you have crosses.
Mm.
Those people were all killed.
Yep.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President?
Now, hear the South African president. He's acting like he has no idea about this. Like he's learning about these crosses and mass graves for the first time, that he has no idea that they're going on. You know what this is, Mr. President? What a sicko.
No, I'd like to know where that is.
I bet you would.
This I've never seen.
Yeah, it's in your country. You know exactly where it is.
Okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa.
We need to find out.
Oh, we need to find out. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Did you hear the silence? Just total. You could hear a pin drop in the Oval Office, filled with the press. Not a peep. But he's not done. Now he's going to go for the stack of articles. That, you know, and the stack of articles that this is. I tell you, JD's awesome. President Trump goes to the stack of articles. J.D. Vance handed the articles to the president. So yet again, they teamed up, like with Zelensky, with this.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One. Perhaps
What are you talking about?
What a sicko.
Mr. President,
the Pentagon spokesperson.
What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You know, this jerk from NBC, it's almost like he had an instinctive reaction. He's in a panic mode. So he's busted in with something to try to change the subject away from this genocide. You know, could you imagine if President Trump was president when the Nazis came to power before the war? He would have had a meeting just like this with whoever he could have gotten there from Germany, their ambassador, whoever, and that would have been stopped. You know, there's been genocides, mass murders, and things that have taken place in modern history, in the 21st century, in this modern era, during the time of our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. No one has confronted the people behind the slaughters like President Trump did today. It's never happened before. And NBC, you know, they're supposed to be a news organization, NBC News, and this guy busts in and tries to stop news from being made and divert to something else so that this genocide will be forgotten.
What you just saw. You are a real, you know, you're a terrible reporter.
And a terrible person.
You don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which was a very nice thing, they also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back. You ought to go back to your studio at NBC because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from me. Go ahead.
No more questions from you. And keep in mind, that's the NBC White House correspondent. He's a real beaut.
Go ahead, talk about that.
Please, may we have a South African question?
His name is Peter
Mr. President
something. He's
Trump?
a terrible
If they're
reporter.
committing genocide, why invite them to the White House? I'll be quiet. Sure, that's my question now.
Let's go.
I like that. The guy says, this guy from NBC News, if they're committing genocide, why invite them to the White House? To confront them on the genocide in front of the world. This press conference that we're going through right now, this has been seen in every part of the planet. And he brought them there so he could expose them to the entire world and call them out for what they are, murderers. And it's this guy, this NBC guy. Why are you having him here? And then he says, okay, I'll be quiet, sir. I'll be quiet. Yeah, you'll be quiet, all right, jerk.
Thank you so much, President Trump, and the last one from
Insane.
the NCA in South Africa. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you very
hosting
much.
us. What would you like President Ramaphosa to do about the situation
I don't
we've just
know.
seen on the screen?
I don't know. Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death.
These are the
Death.
articles he's going through.
Death.
All recent, by the way. I've read some of these
Horrible
articles.
Death. I don't know.
But you know that there are
Pick
black
anyone.
people who are
White
dying
South
the most.
Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all. I'll give these to you. So when you say what would I like to do, I don't know what to do. Look at this.
And during this whole moment, what he's going through these articles, I've read a lot of these articles. You probably have too. And the South African president keeps trying to interject. And you notice how President Trump's just ignoring him as he's going through these.
White South African couples say that they were attacked violently.
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is?
Well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place.
President Trump-
These are all white farmers that are being buried.
President Trump.
And he asks about a jet that was given.
My first
You
question is
ought to
about
be
Afrikaans.
ashamed.
We're not interested in
Yeah.
the
You are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
If they're committing genocide, why invite them? Sir, if they are committing genocide, why invite the South Africans?
Why invite them? He's asking this, why invite them over and over again? To expose them and reprimand them and call them out. To be called out on the carpet and reprimanded for your genocide by the President of the United States, nothing like that has ever happened before. It is amazing. Could you imagine if 9/11 would have happened with President Trump in office, what the response would have been? It would have been much different and much more effective. Man, we're so blessed to have him.
May I finish, please, President Trump? Mr. President
This
Trump,
is
may I
one
finish?
after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking.
Can we get a
President
response from
Ramaphosa, can you give us your
please?
reaction to those videos, Mr. President?
President Trump, could you?
Well, I
could
think
you
it's.
address
I think
black
the
people
videos are
dying
so.
more than white
No,
people?
no. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse?
Yep.
And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what it is. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it.
We're going to.
But this is a tremendous look. This is a story recent. These are all people that recently got killed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it can get any worse. These are all
President
people.
Trump,
And the men that you saw, the people that you saw in that movie, those are officials. Those are people that were in office. They had one march. They had a dance in your parliament, whatever you may call it, legislature.
But let
and
me
it was
clarify that.
terrible. Yeah.
Let me clarify that because
Yeah, and then he goes on and talks about how he has nothing to do with this, and these are outlaws. Nobody buys what the South African president's saying there. I mean, I got to tell you that President Trump, we have never had a president like this before. I mean, doesn't he make you proud that you voted for him when you see him like this? Who has called out a genocide ever, and confronted the person doing it? Can you imagine if President Trump was president during the time of Stalin, when he did his slaughters of his own people? I mean, could you imagine? he would do the same thing. We've never had someone like this before. He is such a historical, unique person to become the president of the United States. And, you know, I say a lot of times I'll never disagree with President Trump because it's true. We're never going to have someone like this again. And every moment that he is president, savor it. We're going to have other MAGA presidents, and they'll be great. No one's ever going to be like this. What he did to that South African president today, I mean, you know, they didn't even see it coming, the South African president or his cabinet with his token white guy, his one minister he's got there with him. You know, this was a great thing. And this is the beginning of the end of the slaughter. And, you know, even after this press conference went on for quite a while. I'm not going to play any more of it, but it went on for about another 40 minutes. The president of South Africa kept going back to economics. He's trying to get money from the United States. No money. Fix this. Fix this. And then we can talk about economic deals. Are you out of your mind? Who would think that something like this was even possible in 2025? Scary. It really is.
This Father's Day, give a gift from the heart. The Flower Story by author Sean Feeney is a children's book that gives tribute to the unconditional love between a father and daughter. Inspired by a 2-year-old's bedtime request, The Flower Story follows the journey of a flower given by a father to his little girl, growing with her through the years. It's a story that blossoms with meaning, capturing those powerful moments only a dad and daughter can truly understand. The Flower Story is perfect for bedtime, story time, or anytime. It also includes a special section where dads can add their own personal message, making each book a one-of-a-kind keepsake. Whether she's 2 or 22, let her know your love grows forever. Celebrate Father's Day with The Flower Story by Sean Feeney. It's a gift she'll never forget. The only way to get a signed copy is on the author's website. Just type in 143 Art Publishing in the search bar and you'll find it right there. First impressions are crucial. Your business deserves a website that stands out. With nearly 20 years of experience, ProWeaver is your trusted partner for professional custom design websites that are built to elevate your brand. ProWeaver doesn't use generic templates, just fully responsive, user-friendly custom websites that are tailored to you and the needs of your business. And the best part, ProWeaver delivers in just 3 to 5 days. That's lightning speed compared to competitors who take weeks. ProWeaver handles everything for you. Logo design to e-commerce solutions, SEO, and social media setup. They'll help you launch, grow, and dominate online, all at an affordable price. Don't wait. Get your custom website right now. Visit ProWeaver.com or call them directly toll-free 877-216-0852. 877-216-0852. ProWeaver.com. Affordable, dependable, fast. Did you know that every year, 95% of criminal cases never see a jury? They're decided behind closed doors through plea bargains. But what happens when those negotiations go wrong? Author Philip Mosier takes you inside the seismic 2012 Supreme Court rulings, Missouri versus Fry and Lafler versus Cooper, that changed everything in the book Plea Bargains on Trial. Available on Amazon. For the first time, the court recognized the right to effective counsel during plea bargaining, exposing the hidden pressure points that shape justice in America today. Filled with sharp legal insight, real-world examples, as well as powerful historical context, Plea Bargains on Trial pulls back the curtain on a system built on speed, but often short on fairness. If you're drawn to the complexities of law, justice, and the fight for true representation, Plea Bargains on Trial is a book you can't afford to miss. Order your copy right now on Amazon and see the system in a whole new light. Plea Bargains on Trial from author Philip Mosier on Amazon. True warriors don't follow trends, they forge legacies. At TacticalVikingBrand.com, they believe warriors are built, not born. Tactical Viking was inspired by the ferocity of Norse legends and the precision of modern fighters. Tactical fighting is more than just a brand, it's a way of life. They create apparel for those just like you who live by strength, resilience, and honor. Every battle-worn design tells a story of warriors who refuse to surrender. When you wear Tactical Tactical Viking, you're not just wearing clothing, you're wearing a legacy. Everything is a tribute to the warriors who gave everything so we could carry the shield forward. The burial flag on our sleeve isn't just a symbol, it's a promise that we will never forget the sacrifices made before us. Join the Brotherhood, forge your legacy, stand strong, stay ready, no surrender. Visit tacticalvikingbrand.com right now and view the inventory. You will be impressed, and use the code TACTICAL10 to save 10% off your purchase. tacticalvikingbrand.com. Forge your legacy. Wear the warrior's spirit.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms. If there's a podcast platform, just go and search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. And there's so many episodes. And in fact, this episode, I used to announce at the beginning of each podcast what episode this was. Then it got so high. But today's episode is episode 1858. Okay, so it's a lot of episodes. You can do some binge listening, but on all podcast platforms, just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. And the video version of the podcast is available on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show, and on YouTube Music as well. But on all the podcast players, you can find the Brian Craig Show podcast. Just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. It'll come right up. There's some talk already about who the next MAGA candidates are going to be. And I want to throw something out to you guys about this, because the names at the top of the list are, of course, J.D. Vance, the sitting vice president, and Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State. And people are talking about them being the running mate. And it's just assumed, because he's vice president, that J.D. Vance would get the nomination. I like J.D. Vance, and I like them both, but I really like Marco Rubio, not just because he's a fellow Floridian. He is so impressive. You know, you look at how much he's changed since the first campaign in 2015, huh? He's doing such a great job. He is an incredible diplomat. He is, in my lifetime, the greatest Secretary of State we've ever had. I don't know a Secretary of State that we've had that's been anywhere near as great as Marco Rubio. I mean, have you seen the way he's handled himself in some of these congressional hearings, going up against these Democrats lately? Oh, man, it's beautiful. But there's all these great things going on around the world, like ending this genocide in South Africa that we've been talking about. And I agree that right now, Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance are the favored running mates, okay? The favored. But does that mean that J.D. Vance will be the top of the ticket and Marco Rubio be running as the vice president? Is that a given? You know, there's an age difference. J.D. Vance is a millennial. Marco Rubio is Generation X like me. And he doesn't look like, Marco Rubio does not look like someone who would follow J.D. around. Is it possible that they are running mates, but J.D. runs for vice president again? Is that possible? It could happen. Crazier things have happened. You know, Joe Biden got skipped over for Hillary, right, after Obama's second term. Just because you're vice president doesn't mean you get to be president. And forgetting about the traditions of it, if Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance are running mates, who do you think should be the presidential candidate and who should be at the bottom of the ticket? Forgetting about the fact that we have this tradition of the vice president, would you be okay with J.D. running as vice president again? I would. I'm so impressed with Marco Rubio, and it seems to me that he's Trump's favorite. He likes them all, but Trump always is leaning on Marco Rubio. Take over USAID, become the national security advisor temporarily. He keeps leaning on Marco Rubio all the time. And I don't think that's by accident at all. Jake Tapper he's doing the podcast circuit. He went on yesterday. He went on with Megyn Kelly, and then he went on Katie Couric's podcast. And you know, this is a interesting thing with Jake Tapper, because he is currently an anchor on CNN, and he is. Is he their big star, or is it Anderson Cooper? I think Jake Tapper is kind of the big star, or at least the number 2 or co-star with Anderson Cooper on CNN, and he's currently there. And he's doing all these new media interviews, right? He's doing Megyn Kelly, Katie Couric's podcast. It's interesting that CNN is all behind this book. He's in partnership with CNN with this Biden book that he's promoting. And for him to go on, being with the mainstream fake news media, for him to go on the new media, in particular Megyn Kelly, I'm not going to count Katie Couric, but you know what I mean? For CNN to have their top guy out there giving credibility, publicity, and acknowledging the new media, podcasts like Megyn Kelly, that's very unusual. I'm glad they're doing it because the new media, that's what I'm a part of, and even though I've been doing it a long time, but I'm the new media, and I'm glad that the new media is getting all this publicity and everything because I think we should. But I think it's interesting that he's going that route so much. Now, this is a clip from the Katie Couric podcast interview with Tapper yesterday.
One of the things that we have learned in our reporting is that the Biden White House, led by the president, First Lady, and Hunter.
Okay, now that's crazy. I started to play this clip on the radio this morning, and I didn't listen to the whole clip, and Tapper drops the F-bomb. So I had to dump it on the radio this morning, and I didn't get to finish it, so I'm going back to it to finish it. But here Jake Tapper's acknowledging that the country was being run by Hunter Biden and Jill Biden. And, Hunter Biden is a hardcore degenerate drug addict. I mean, he's just a hardcore drug addict. If his dad wasn't who he was, he'd be in prison for his, and he's sex traffics women and everything else. That's who's been running the country? Are you kidding me? For 4 years?
One of the things that we have learned in our reporting is that the Biden White House, led by the president, First Lady, and Hunter, and also top aides, they were lying not just to the media, they were lying not just to the public, they were lying to other Democrats. They were lying to donors, they were lying to cabinet secretaries, they were lying to Democratic lawmakers. We talked to one Democrat, and this is in the book, who said he would call and he would be told, he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. And then after Biden dropped out, this Democrat sat down with the president and the First Lady, it's a very high-ranking person, but didn't want to be named, and said, he's not fucking fine. Jill had to pop in and finish his sentences, as we saw in The View not long ago. He's not fucking fine. So the deceit was the main issue. But yes, journalists should have been poking and prodding, most especially, believe me, there's no one that flagellates me more than me. And yes, of course, I could have done more and I should have.
Now this is there's an admission, and he's an insider, that Hunter was running the country with Jill. So what decisions did he make? How did he make what orders did he give? How were his orders being carried out? I'm talking about Hunter Biden's orders. How did this country survive the last 4 years with a crackhead, with a degenerate drug user like Hunter Biden, who, by the way, was on trial, was facing criminal trials and everything else, while he was running the country with his stepmother? All right, here's another clip. This is Tapper with Katie Couric.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision-making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions.
Tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, I just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean,
that's who's been running the country for 4 years.
I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice, but I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too. Really,
a real loss for the country too, not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that, and the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
And the family car that he was driving was the United States of America because his dad was president. Now, if you're in the state of Florida and you need roof repair or replacement, you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. He's a good MAGA guy. He'll take good care of you. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need, meaning that if you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He covers the entire state of Florida, the East Coast, the West Coast, and everywhere in between. And did you know that Tom Laporta was voted one of the best general contractors and best roofers in all of South Florida? That is absolutely amazing. He's honest, he's knowledgeable, he's reliable, and he does incredible work. I've seen his work, not just on Steve Kane's house, but many of our listeners have told me about the great work that Tom Laporta has done for every type of structure. We actually had a listener that had a church roof. They call Tom Laporta about. Now remember, because Tom Laporta isn't just a roofer, he's also a general contractor. Florida law allows him to deal directly with your insurance company for the cost of the repair or the replacement of your roof. He can handle a job of any size, and he can also handle any type of roofing job. Residential roofing and repair, commercial roofs, schools, municipal buildings, office buildings, emergency repairs. You know, after rainstorms and hurricanes, we have a lot of listeners, they call Tom Laporta. He comes right out. He takes care of it. Give him a call. Now, this number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, okay? 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. You can either call or text him. That's his direct cell phone number. Or go to his website, LaportaRoofing.com. You know, and the thing with Beau Biden, you know, Beau Biden was supposed to take over his dad's role as head of the family. And the Biden plan was for Beau Biden to be in the Senate like his daddy was and keep the family supported off all the corrupt Washington deals. And then sadly, he passed away. And because Beau passed away, Joe had to come out of retirement so that he could do more corrupt deals and get his family set up. Because, you know, his whole family, not just his kids and grandkids, his brother and sister and their whole families live off of the family business, which is Joe Biden's corruption, taking bribes, doing favors and everything else. And these people, it's a family of vices, okay? It's a family of people that have vices. And people like that, even though they have millions of dollars coming in for decades, they spend it as fast as it comes in, and there's so many of them. And there's been a lot of reporting lately that the Biden family is broke. I don't know, but it's not looking good for them. I tell you, the people are really looking into this. And Jake Tapper, now, you know, I don't buy any of this crap with Jake Tapper. He didn't know, and their investigations with his team of researchers for this book found out all these things they didn't know. That Washington circle is a small circle. They know everything that's going on, okay? And I've been asking for weeks about this. Why is Tapper doing this now? And nobody really knows except Tapper and CNN. We really don't know why are they doing this now. Because a lot of what they're doing, Jake Tapper here, what they're doing is indicting themselves. Because he's part of the mainstream media, the legacy media, and they were covering up from the time the laptop story dropped, which was supposed to be the October surprise in that election, right? That the Trump team, it was the first time the Republicans had an October surprise, and it was the laptop from hell. And all the mainstream media, including Jake Tapper, covered up the laptop from hell. And then they spent Biden's 4 years covering up his health, which anyone with eyes could see when you saw him on TV. Okay, and so why are they doing something that makes them look so bad? You know, typically when you've been involved in something so unethical, like Jake Tapper, CNN, and the fake news media, you just act like it didn't happen and you move on. And they're highlighting and they're trying to blame the White House. They're trying to take responsibility away from the media and say, well, the White House hid this. They kept him secluded. No one knew. Not even his own cabinet members could meet with him for months, and nobody had any idea, and we didn't know because they're blaming the White House. No, there's more to blame than just that. And the AutoPen investigation on the pardons, we very well could see pardons invalidated, including Hunter's. Did Hunter pardon himself? Was it Hunter using the AutoPen to give out? I would not be surprised. You know, if you've ever known someone who's a drug addict, and I have known people in my life that were addicts, And the number one rule with someone who's an addict is you don't give them 10 cents. You give them 10 cents, they'll find 10 cents worth of drugs and spend it on drugs. So people that are addicts, you don't give money to, right? Could you imagine giving a drug addict at the level of Hunter? Now, I know there's some people that smoke weed at night after work or on the weekends, and that's bad enough. I don't do that either. I don't do anything, okay? I do drink on our cruises. I'll have, I get the drink package, but that's it for me. During the rest of the year, I'm, the other 50 weeks of the year, I'm pretty dry, and I never do drugs or smoke weed. But there's a lot of people that are functional, right, and they smoke weed a few times a week or something like that. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's not Hunter. Hunter's doing hardcore drugs on top of the sex problems with the ladies. So when you're talking about an addict, a drug addict, and you don't give 10 cents to a drug addict because they'll use it on drugs, the presidency of the United States was given to Hunter Biden. We don't know the tip of the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg that he was involved in. You give someone like Hunter Biden the power of the presidency, which he had in these last 4 years, according to Jake Tapper, the things that he did are beyond the pardon. It's beyond pardon gate, right? The pardon gate's like the big thing that's coming up now, the auto pin gate. What did this guy do? What did he do? The only thing we know prior to his dad being other than the bribes and everything, but how he used the office, right? Remember when his dad was vice president and he was on the Burisma board and the Ukrainian prosecutor was investigating, and he had his dad, Joe Biden, threatened the Ukrainian government that they were going to cut off all the aid from the United States if they didn't get the prosecutor off of Hunter's company's back, right? Remember that? Can you imagine? That was when he was vice president, Joe Biden. When Hunter Biden, and that's how corrupt he was, when Hunter Biden was basically the president of the United States, which is what Jake Tapper's telling us, can you imagine what he was doing then? Holy smokes. We don't even want to know. My name's Brian Craig. No, we do want to know. But maybe we don't. Because the things that he did have got to be so depraved, so sick, so disgusting. I'm not talking about just like taking bribes or doing stupid things. Someone like that. I mean, remember that video of Hunter with the prostitute? She was like Russian or Ukrainian, and then the pimp comes over to pick her up, and he was filming her and says, I didn't hurt you, did I? Remember he paid for prostitutes at the Beverly Hills Hotel with his dad, Joe Biden's credit card? Remember all of that? So someone who's living a life like that has some controls over them because daddy still had some control over him, what was he doing when he was the president? It's going to be things that are so sick and depraved. It's like right out of the Roman Empire, what he was doing. And he probably viewed himself as the Prince of America. I mean, and when people that have these vices have so much power, the things they do, I mean, look at Saddam Hussein's sons, the things they were involved in, because their dad was Saddam Hussein. They didn't have to answer it. This guy was the president, according to Jake Tapper, in effect. So when I say that we don't want to know, we do want to know, but we don't need to know all the details, because whatever he was doing is so sick, twisted, and depraved. It's not something that you want to think about too much. But there's investigations going on, and we're going to find out. And hopefully we find out soon, because this cannot be allowed to happen again. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time.